yeah, we only live one life. So, and it's a constant reminder to myself, it's not just, not to other people, but it's that way. I think it's that wake up call when you hit midlife as well. You recognize there's less probably going forwards than there was behind. And life is too short to continue being angry.
Hi, Jenny. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, James. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, really looking forward to this chat. We're going to dive straight in, Jenny, with the first question, which is what's important to you?
I think something that's important to me is not necessarily, can be quite uncomfortable, is honesty and kind of transparency. Because I have a sense when people are just not being who they really are, and it bugs me. So yeah,
So that's an interesting one. So is it are you thinking it from with the people that you're interacting with from an initial perspective? So the expectation of honesty from other people, is it, and transparency from other people?
I think it's just something I really appreciate in other people when they're willing to
Yes.
just be them. Ironically, I met somebody just last week. If I can talk about it now, so I met somebody
Yeah.
last week. I went to the Space Centre in Leicester for the first time. Who knew there was a Space Centre in Leicester? But I went there. I'd never been to Leicester before, and there was a lady I've just connected with recently who has. So she was a wing commander, I believe, and she's currently living in Italy, working for NATO, and she'll laugh when she sees this. Her name's Jackie, and she's just recently written a book. I didn't know I was going to talk about this, to be honest.
Yeah, go for it.
And she's been through a lot of ACEs, so adverse childhood experiences. And something she very much talks about is she's not really into the fluffy talk anymore. And when I met her and she said that, when we had like a little bit of a one to one, I was like, oh, I've kind of felt like I met my soulmate.
Yeah.
Um, so we hugged, and then she just
Yeah.
walked away, and it was really sad. But she's realised as a result of getting over all of her things and processing what went on for her and writing this book, which I don't know the name of,
Yeah.
but obviously people can look it up if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Um, she's just on a completely different plane now, and it was so nice to connect with somebody within the first couple of minutes.
Mm.
And we've connected since then, so I realise it's not just a pretend thing. And she's
Yes.
genuinely wanting to see where our connection goes, and I just so love that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's that sort of, as you say, the no fluff, the no BS or whatever, straight into the crux of whatever the conversation or the connection is. And so, do you think as well when you said that in the sense of yourself, when you said honesty and transparency, is that something that you've always had yourself, or is it something you've kind of grown into? Would you say?
I think that has always been me, which doesn't always land very well with other people. So I can keep my opinions to myself. I very much definitely believe in the kind of the let them theory now.
Mm,
That's taken quite a long time to really understand myself. But I even think kind of as quite a young child, I was always quite different because I am me. I think more or less what you see here is what you'd see if you were having a coaching session from me. If you
hmm
were hearing me as a teacher, as if I was working in adult education, all the things over time, kind of I've done, you would get the same person. Whereas the only time I'm any different is when I walk into a kind of professional environment feeling really nervous and then go, actually, I can just be me here as well, but thinking I need to be somebody different.
Absolutely. No, I love it. I mean, it's definitely one of the sort of commonalities or themes that's come up from different people when I've spoken on the show, is that people use it says just to be themselves, whether it be authenticity, my authentic self, all these sort of this all kind of meaning the same thing. But I like it interesting when you said that you've kind of always been you. But so is it when you said that the times when you feel less comfortable being yourself was a professional or when you're nervous? Tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that. Are those times where you felt less comfortable?
I think it's almost like you're worried that you can't be you. And
Mm,
so, I mean, today I have put a bit of makeup on. I don't normally do. I know it looks better on camera, hence I just thought I would. And I don't feel less me because the bits that have
yeah,
to be covered up for me are things that I wish weren't there, and they're kind of not part of me. So I've got like xanthelasma under my eyes, which is a weird, horrible thing, and I know nothing can be done with it. And so that just makes, and also I guess that's a little bit makes it when people notice it, they're like,
sure.
I've had one thing where somebody went, "Is your makeup not merged in properly?" And so I'm like, okay, it's better for other people if it's not there. But yeah, it was an environment. So I was when the kids were small. And I decided I wanted to do something. I trained to be an estate agent briefly. So I went down to London, and it was suddenly realizing I could hold my own professionally, having just been a mum for a number of years, and worried that I wouldn't be able to do that. And then I put myself in this environment, and it's actually fine. Like last week at the Space Centre, the people who were
Mm.
there felt like they were quite big wigs in comparison to me, or what I felt like. Um, and yeah, when I realised that actually there's no difference, I think it's once you can get through the past the labels.
Yeah.
Fairly recently did an improv training with Claire Pedrick, who's a coach online, and she got an improv professional in, and we never got to know each other's titles or anything, and she did that on purpose so that we wouldn't have that feeling,
Yes.
and that was
That's,
brilliant, absolutely
yeah.
brilliant.
Love that. Yeah, absolutely. I can totally get that, because it's that, because we, I don't know, society or the societal things that we have, we live in a hierarchical
Mm,
society. So we automatically, whenever I would do the same, when you're in any sort of situation, or whether it be in person, online, you're kind of thinking, oh, where's my spot? Where's my space? Um, and I would be similar in a sense of, took me some time to kind of realize that in the end, people are people.
mm,
It's, I think some, where I wonder if you sort of, if this resonates, my sort of realization is like, I can still be polite and respectful
mm,
to any person, and potentially to any person's what they've maybe achieved to get where they've got to. But it doesn't mean that I have to be inferior.
mm,
I can just be polite, respectful, that I would be to anyone.
mm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, once I kind of got that in my head, it's like the same as you, Self. It's like, in the end, they're just another person. And I found it with those people who are normally put up on that pedestal. If you go just talk to them like a normal human being, they'll talk to you more.
Yeah. Well, I met an ex-Olympian recently, and I did a stupid thing and take a photo, and I'm like, that was a fan photo, which it wasn't. And I think she's taken it the wrong way. I just meant, oh, there is an element of, oh my goodness, I've met somebody famous. This is really nice, and it's kind of nice to almost put yourself a bit more in the public eye by doing it. But I
Yeah,
think I think she misread it, thinking that I was like a fan of hers. It wasn't. I enjoyed the connection, and I
yeah,
think there's a little bit of me that's still learning. So, like these people
yeah.
from the Space Center, yes, they have names, they have titles, and some people would leverage it. Whereas I'm like, I do enjoy the connection. And there's a part of me
Mm,
that does the fan bit, which doesn't need
mm,
to, but the other
yeah,
part of me just enjoys that connection.
absolutely. So tell me, so you said there, one of the things you said, you trained as an or went to do training
Mm.
as an estate agent. So I'm interested, because then you said about referencing that you being a parent, being a mum for so many long, and then you've found your way back, or come back into the workplace, whatever way you want to put it. How do you go from estate agent or training for an estate agent to where you've ended up now?
Hilarious, squiggly career. If you look at my kind of profile, so it went from training to be an engineer as a university to software engineering, or being called a bright young thing in my first job, which was absolutely hilarious. To moving up to Yorkshire and getting married. So I worked in software again then having my first children, working freelance sales for Phoenix Trading, so greetings cards and gift wrap for a number of years. To I think that's when I did the estate agent, and it just kind of didn't work with school holidays, and I
Mm,
recognized the company was new and was probably going to go under, which it did. And I was like, I'm just pulling out. I don't want that stress.
yeah.
Then I did have a part-time job as like a practice manager at a alternative health place, did osteopathy and things like that. And I think that's partly when there was a bit of coaching and a bit of that sort of
Mm,
thing, and NLP. Didn't really know much about it, but there was a bit of it there.
mm,
Um, then I trained to be a teacher, so I was kind of getting a bit bored with my job. Fair play, it was fine, but it
mm,
wasn't what I wanted to be doing. There wasn't enough of my brain being used. So I trained to be a
yeah.
computing teacher and worked as that for about 8 years. But for me, I work with top end students. I'm not somebody, and I really respect teachers who can work with difficult behaviour. But for me, I'm too invested in the kids individually to be able to manage the classroom really, really well.
Yeah.
So it was not going to be for me long term. And a few other things kind of happened on the way that made that difficult as well. And something that was along the thread even when I was a teenager was about authenticity in people. And somebody who'd been at university with me was talking on LinkedIn about coaching, and something just twigged. It wasn't like the only thing in my journey, because I'd done a bit as an adult educator, and
Yeah.
we did a bit of training on coaching as well. So while I was teaching, and then I actually took the leap, did a few kind of like, if I get this, then I'm going to do that. If this happens, then this. A bit of a kind of like wet fleece moment, where if the fleece is dry in the morning, then I'm going to do this. And it was. And so I took the leap, left teaching, retrained as a coach with Barefoot Coaching. I'm now accredited. I've been doing that for, I think I'm in my 4th year or 5th year, one or the other. I
Yeah.
lose track after a while. And we were trained as personal and business coaches, but I'm working as a career coach with people who have workplace squiggles, uncertainties
Yes.
and things like that. So that's kind of my
Yeah.
journey.
Love it. But it isn't it, because you've lived that, as you said yourself, that squiggle in sense of your own career, it absolutely, those are the people that you're going to connect with, because you say that sort of the differences, the changes, what I love about people when I talk to people about their careers as well is to demystify in the sense of the fact that you can have these sort of squiggly lines, contrasts, contradictions of what they may seem in your career. And a lot of times it's like, sometimes people want to leave because they hate something, or they just don't, or sometimes it's just they've outlived it. It doesn't necessarily mean change in your career. It doesn't mean that you have to hate what you're doing. You might just want to do something different.
Yeah.
So I think, but even then, the fact you tried a couple of things. Oh, I'm going to try the estate agent. Okay, yeah, not for me. It's that element as well, which I think which I like when you shared that story there, or your story so far.
Yeah, I've got a couple of clients, and like what's really interesting, I'm having a bit of physical therapy at the moment, PT sessions and strength training, and the guy I work with, we chat a lot. And I was talking about a couple of clients, not in any depth, but saying I've got 2 pairs of clients from 2 different organizations, and which has never happened before. And in each organization, one is not happy with their job, and the other one is happy and just wondering what next. And it's a real interesting contrast between the two different people. And you never know when you first meet them. You kind of anticipate it's going to be the same with both. And I really love the contrast and working with both of them. It's really interesting to see the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you said you're now sort of focusing on sort of career coaching, and you said the squig lines. So in a sense of career coaching, is there a specialism in the sense of what you do as a career coaching? Is it kind of depending on what the client's coming to you for?
So there is a generalized pattern that tends to happen, but there isn't. I don't have I can think of people's titles of their programs. I don't have a title of a program like that. I'm kind of planning out a bit of a group program, but whether it'll happen or not will just depend on, because I think with careers, when people have a squiggle with a career, they need help then. So unless I could do an offline course where people can just subscribe to it and start it whenever they're ready, I don't think it's practical. So people come and they may have, I had one lady recently who had 3 sessions with me, had a bit of trauma in her background. We recognized the trauma, we left the trauma, so we didn't touch it, because for us that's not coaching. And she realized that. And in 3 sessions, she went from, I can't do this, I'm just not going to do this, I don't know what I'm doing, everything's just gone wrong, to, bless her, she's amazing. She's gone off on her own, she's branched out, self-employed, and I'm just like, way to go, I'm so impressed. But I have other people I've worked with for like 15 times who might own their own business. Think of one particular person who owns their own business and needed, again, it was confidence work, but it's also habit changing, and that's taken a long time. So every time, sometimes they'll come back and go, I've slipped backwards, I'm sorry. And I'm like, you don't need to apologize to me. It's great you've recognized it. What do you want to do with it? So I have a massive contrast of different
people. Absolutely. But I think what I love with the example you just shared as well, though, there is the sort of the and I don't want to mean this in any sort of disrespect, but the surface level thing is the career, in a sense of role, job, career, whatever it is. But say when you go underneath it again, it's like, it's again similar things. It could be confidence, it could be self-belief, it's the limiting belief, it's all those things. And but it's how working on those things underneath will then enable the person to progress in whichever way their career they want to go in.
Yeah, it's totally incredible how sometimes even in one session, normally at least 3,
Yep.
the transformation and you don't really realize it's happening. Obviously it's in the other person. And it's all about their attitude and what they're wanting to do. So when somebody says to me, can you do this X, Y, and Z? I'm like, probably, but it's all about what you're willing to do as well.
Yes, absolutely. So, because I'm interested whenever I do talk to, so obviously someone else is in the coach, and you said was it Barefoot? Was that the name of
Yeah, it's
the?
Barefoot I trained with.
So I'd love to know. Tell me, because obviously did it through a different organization. Tell me your experience of learning or becoming a coach. I'm interested.
Yeah, no, it was really good actually. Ironically, I had appendicitis right at the end of the
Oh,
session.
God bless.
I missed a whole bit. However, what was really good is I think there were 15 of us and we're still in touch. I just sent them a message the other day. Not as much, obviously, as you are to start off with. It was all online. So we have met up once, I think 3 years ago, just about this time of year in London. But it was it was really, really good. We had different trainers, different times. We had lots and lots of observed sessions. And to start off with, I thought I was only going to want to coach online because that's all we'd experienced, which was a really curious thing. But I wouldn't have been able to go and get trained at their offices, which is what was happening before lockdown. So I think lockdown made it possible for me to retrain. Because also leaving teaching, we got a dog who's normally in this room with me, and I wouldn't have been able to leave her. So that's, working from home and all the rest of it. So yeah, it was really good because we had specialists in NLP, we had people in CBT, we had people in transaction analysis. So I've done some extra training with some of those as well. We had, they have so many different people come in and work with you. And then we also had the potential to get a postgraduate certificate as well. So I was one of the few in our cohort who did that. So that was quite good in terms of the academic. Can I still do it? The last thing I did was a PGCE, which was like 10 years before. And then wondering whether I still got that ability, never having really done essays ever because I was an engineer.
Yes.
So that was quite scary. Am I even able to communicate on that level?
Yeah,
so it wasn't just the coaching learning. It was also So I did things like there was an essay all about coaching for change. How can coaching enable change? So it gave me an opportunity to do quite a bit of research about that, which actually, I guess, in a way, helped me move towards what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Well, it's so often it's the thing, as you say, there is one thing leads to the next, which opens another pathway, a different way of thinking that you weren't necessarily expecting when you start something like that. You also said there, because when you were teaching with the adult education, is that something you still do as well at the moment?
I do kind of three things. So coaching, I tutor maths 11 to 18, but it's mostly 11 to 16. I haven't had any A-level ones this last year. And some adult education, so going and delivering courses that I've not written. So I quite like facilitating courses. Okay, there's some bits where I go, I didn't write. In a way, it's a bit of a cop-out because I can say, yes, it's wrong, I didn't write it, and I can just feed back. So I've not got that pressure, which I quite enjoy at the moment. I can't say I'm always going to be like that because I do like delivering my own content as well. But it's lovely to be able to, it's the same as with coaching, you're helping people move on a step. So we're delivering computing courses for teachers who are moving into computing most of the time. So go to the STEM centre, so you get that professional environment. They did have a lot online, but I enjoyed going in person. That also helps me with that professional, that fear of going somewhere new, meeting new people. But it's quite funny because right from the beginning, yes, I'm the leader, but right from the beginning, I'm with them. I'm in there with them, and that's really nice. But it's helped me kind of with the idea of potentially being able to deliver courses in companies for L&D and things like that, because it was something I didn't know if I could do, and just remembering I can do that helps.
Yes, but and it's interesting since you're going in teaching computing to teachers, is that right?
So they may have moved from maths. They may be a maths teacher or a PE teacher.
Yes.
So I have done it for new. So I've worked with trainee teachers as their coach this year.
Yes.
So I've been with them with some of the little bits of the content, but mostly just coaching, pure coaching. But these are guys who are teachers in other subjects. So they've already understand how to teach. They don't know the computing way, the pedagogy. They don't know necessarily how to cope with the computers in the room because they may not have experienced that. But also we're teaching the subject.
Yeah. And are they then, is it just because they have to use it now as part of their role, or they're transitioning into a different way of teaching? Or is it just because it's part of what they have to do now?
So yeah,
Yeah.
teaching's not a great place just now for a lot of people.
No.
So there are a number increasing. So rather than recruiting, they're getting increasing numbers of people into different roles. So increasing numbers
Wow.
of PE teachers having to teach computing and maths.
Wow.
So specifically PE teachers. And that's an interesting one considering how technical computing, parts of technical
Yeah.
computing are. But sometimes it can be somebody who's been teaching computing for 3 or 4 years, but they've just never got a handle on certain
Yeah.
bits. And so
Yep.
we go in, deliver whichever course it is. They hopefully are on the right course. And then there's those bits that we can help with.
Wow. Because part of me thinks, in the sense of a teacher going in to teach computing to a young person does seem like the maddest thing. And my perception is the young person is just going to be so far ahead, but it's
Yeah,
how you use the tech, I suppose, and
yeah,
how, what
definitely.
it is, and that, like, it's be far gone from Jesus. Nostalgia of my IT classes in school was just doing Sim City. I think, Jesus, how far I was going back. That's like,
Changed a bit.
that's changed a bit. I'm sure it has. I thank God it's changed a bit as well. Interesting. I love it. So you've got all these sort of strands to what you do, in a
Mm.
sense of the tutoring for the maths, then the computing teaching, and then you got your coaching. How did it, part of that is you being your own employee, self-employed business. What was that sort of experience or journey like to do that part of it?
What to become self to do
So
that,
employed.
becoming
Yeah.
self-employed. So I was tutoring before I finished teaching. So I'd already done a
Cool.
bit of computing
Yeah.
tutoring, which I don't do now. I just do maths. So I did a bit of that before I stopped, and I was doing a bit of the adult education. So a few of those things. It was a
Mm.
little bit like, okay, now I'm kind of my own boss all the time. I think the biggest learning curve, as it is, I think, for anybody who becomes self-employed, is the whole marketing sales, which fluctuates. I mean, I'm in a
Mm.
great position that I don't need to support myself particularly, but I do need it for my own self-worth,
Yep.
and for my own mental well-being and all the rest of it. So financially, I enjoy having my own bank account with some money in it,
Yeah.
which I like. I pay for my personal therapy, and I'm not my personal therapy, my PT and my physical therapy. I pay for that. So various things that I
Yeah.
pay out of my bank account, which is really
Yeah.
nice. So I feel like I'm contributing.
Sure.
Um, but I think, yeah, it's definitely the marketing. It's the things that I see companies going under or struggling, and I'm like, I've never heard of you. So where's your marketing? So I can
Yeah.
see what they don't know that they're not doing properly.
Yeah.
Like the thing I went to at the Space Centre in Leicester last week, it was brilliant, but their marketing was shocking. Like I didn't see it anywhere,
Yeah.
so that it wasn't out there enough to
Yeah.
be able to make it work.
Yeah.
And I know that for myself. I know I don't do it enough.
Yeah. Yeah. And is it because, just to go into that a little bit further, is it because you just need to upskill in it? Is there a sort of reasoning that you're not as, that's the area that you struggle with the business?
Well, I don't think I struggle with it. I've got an awful lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
I know what I should be doing.
Okay.
I and I think sometimes with me, it might be partly the niche I'm working in. So there are some like products and I don't know, subscription boxes and all the rest of it that will generate lots of followers really quickly and get a
Yeah.
really big email list and then can launch really easily for if they're
Yeah.
doing like a semi-passive income. I think with mine, like I said, when you've got somebody in a career conundrum, they want to see
Yes.
you then for the next three
Yes.
months in this particular capacity. So to create something kind of bigger, people are finding me on Google. So I know, I spoke to somebody from Saudi like in the last couple of days. I was
Yeah.
like, where did you find me? And he was like, well, I just searched career coaches on Google and you came up.
Love
So,
it.
so my SEO and all the rest of it is
It's
working.
working.
But I think partly who I work with isn't necessarily conducive to the massive things, and I couldn't upscale in that urgency
Yeah.
much more than I have already.
Love it.
It does go quiet, but
Yeah.
when at the moment I've got quite a few people contacting me at the same time, and
Love it.
it's just quite organic now.
Yeah. I love that. But isn't it that the whole thing of, in a sense of getting your marketing right, when the person puts you in, they find you in that way, because
Mm.
it's the whole thing of my sort of the sort of learning curve or continual learning curve is it's not just finding people, it's finding the right person, the right people, the person that you're going to want to have a connection with, the person that's going to have a connection with you, that you're actually going to have that enablement.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
it's that whole thing of the marketing thing. There's like, do you solve their problem? Essentially, isn't it? Versus throwing the net out and gathering all these people and you can't solve anything, so it's definitely that way. And is there a, you say it's the people you work with, you one is the sort of that sort of squiggly line career, is it, is there a particular type of person you tend to work with more so?
So I put myself out there as working with people who are women in professional women in tech, and that is generally there's some connection that way. That
Yeah,
has happened that way. But I
yeah,
think if somebody came, I mean, I've got a male business owner at the moment, and a few other male clients, and a few other
yeah,
people in completely different arenas. But that is generally where it does match. So what people
yeah,
have said. But interestingly, I think possibly because of my squiggly career, I've got a couple of people who've come from like history and geography and ended up in tech, and they're like, what do I do now? I've got these roles have happened, and I
mm,
know I'm missing stuff in order to be
yeah,
like frontline IT manager or whatever.
yeah,
So yeah, so that's the kind of people, and generally they're in some sort of transition. So I've had somebody who was just about to go into maternity leave, and I
yeah,
worked with her in her maternity leave. Other people who are mid career, so they're kind of they've done the first bit, and they're maybe the same age as me, maybe a little bit younger, and they're thinking, "What am I going to do?" And realizing they want to do something that really works for them. They've had
mm,
enough of just doing a job because they're doing a job. They want to do something where they know they're going to enjoy it. They can use their skills, and sometimes they struggle because they don't know where to look, and because the job market's changed. It's like, where do I go? Where do I look? What do I do?
yeah. No, because I say I know a few people that are working the sort of the tech industry through marriage. So it's kind of where my wife works, and that is it's so up here, and that like, and it's it's another world to me. Like, it's like really is, because I think a sense of um, there seems to be a certain amount of pressure in that industry, a certain amount of expectations and things. So do you have any of the people coming to you that are just the whole burnout type thing? Is that something you deal with, or is it people coming to you just more because they want to change?
Some people have suffered from burnout.
Mm,
Generally, it's people who are. I'm trying to think, trying to scroll through my brain of the different
yeah,
clients I've had as to. Yeah, so I've had some who just don't know what to do, and it might be that
yeah,
they've got family at the same time, and they're trying to balance that, trying to work out
mm,
what to do. Less burnout. It's more there's like a life something that's happened. So one lady whose child has got to a certain age, and she's on her own. It's like, do I stay as a contractor? Do I go into full time employment, or do I go into part time employment? And
mm,
then others, do I change completely, leave tech,
yeah,
and follow my dreams? And
yes,
sometimes with them, it's like, well, okay, what would it look like if you did that?
yeah,
What's an alternative? And I'm not pushing the alternative, but very often they do end up with staying in their job and satisfying the dreams by doing something else on the side.
yes,
So they recognize that the consistency of that job is fine. They don't need to
yes.
necessarily move.
Yeah, but I think that's the power of say working with someone like yourself as a coach, because um, a lot of people that I would come across, well, they think choices are quite binary.
Mm,
They think is, and this is sometimes this is kind of myself, and I reflect to myself, it's an either or situation,
mm,
and this could be coming from many different reasons, from you don't even know why it's an either or, but maybe it's a bit of both, but in a slightly different way. But
exactly.
it's,
Yeah.
but they wouldn't necessarily think that way unless they had the opportunity to talk it through with someone like yourself.
Yeah, very much. So I a couple of years ago I did some training with Shirzad. I kind of remember his surname, Charmaine from Stanford University in positive intelligence. And
Okay.
you can't see the picture on my wall. I've got a picture
No.
of a girl on a swing that I bought as a result of that course. And part of what his talk, the positive intelligence is the saboteurs that work against you, and then you've got the sages that are working for you. And part in the sages is discovery and investigation and creativity.
Mm.
And so the girl on the swing is very much about embracing your inner child. What would you have enjoyed, or what did you enjoy as a small child?
Yeah.
And the number of people, I have tissues here, because the number of people when they see that picture, or when I ask them that question, start crying because they realize they're not satisfying that child. It's like, okay, what would that child want?
Yeah.
And so that's where that extra creativity and recognizing in this room or in my garden, in my home office, they can have the freedom to dream. And I say, dream as far as you can, and then we'll work out what's possible.
Hmm. That's a lovely phrase to think about, because it's that whole thing of taking away the limitations that one would put on oneself. Because I'm sure you've experienced the same thing. Is the whole thing of like when someone actually says something out loud
Mm.
that they've maybe not said before, you can really see it in them, can't
Yeah,
you? Like
yeah,
that's a massive shift when someone actually says it.
yeah. And when you say it back, yeah, when you say it back to them,
Yeah,
I say, let me see if I've captured that bit of your career when they're doing a career walkthrough. And I'm like, I sort of say, did that capture it well? Because I wrote a few things down just so I've got some keywords they've said, and they're just like, oh. Or they have a really exciting moment. Did you notice what happened then? You notice how your eyes lit up when you talked about that award and you said you've done nothing in your career?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, it very much is that whole thing of the fact that um, I was chatting to a few people in the same industry not so long ago, and in the sort of tech world, and they were so engrossed in it and so involved in it, they couldn't realize or couldn't see how high performing they were,
Mm,
because this was their day, this was their life, they'd done it
mm,
for so long. And I was like, you realize if you went wherever you are to any other industry, you'd be,
mm,
if you think about that hierarchy again, you'd be so far above
mm.
people, but because they're so, it's like just their day to day, they can't even see how well they're doing.
Yeah.
And it's like to try and pull them out of their reality into the rest of reality, if that
I
makes
think that
sense.
happens with us as well as
Of course it
coaches.
does.
Because one
Yeah.
of my clients recently sent me a job application. She said, I've thought of you when I saw this job, Jenny. And it was for a £250,000 job as a leadership coach in an organisation. And I just looked at it and just went, seriously?
Yeah.
You think of me that highly, which was lovely. It was a real compliment. And I kind of looked at it and I was like, really don't want to be doing that full
Yeah.
time in wherever it was. I think it was still it was a remote job, so there was
Yeah.
possibilities. But I was like, do you really see me that so we have it as well.
Oh, completely.
Um,
Well, absolutely. And I tell you what, for myself, when you just say that there, in sense of with the show and doing the
mm,
podcast, I've just gone through just last week, released this week. No, last week was the 100th episode. So when this
wow.
goes out, it'll be about a month or so ago. But yeah, so, and it was this really strange thing where I kind of dove back into the show and right, let's give this a sort of real go into it.
Mm.
And I've got to the point now where people are reaching out to me to come on,
Oh
which
wow.
is a
Yeah.
really, whereas before when you're at the start, it's like finding anyone
Yeah.
that'll, basically, will you come on to try and have the conversations? Whereas I'm now, and it was like, okay, as something is
Mm,
clicking, something is clicking, but you say, because we can get so caught up in the doing, because
mm,
that's part of it. We sometimes forget, actually, maybe there is doing what you hope and expect, so there's definitely something for ourselves to reflect on, anyone to reflect on, of
yeah,
what you're doing at any given moment.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said you've been doing it for sort of 4 or 5 years now, you said you've been doing it, business and that.
I think it's 4 year. I think I'm in my fourth year. I think, or I'm yeah.
Yeah.
I lose track, and I can forget
Yeah.
but whether it was May 21, 22, it may have been 22,
Yeah. Yeah.
three and a bit.
Very good. And how have you then, because you said at the beginning, interesting when you said it was you were concentrating on being a mum versus in the workplace. How have you sort of now combined or managed the whole thing of like doing your business, family, things like that? How have you
Well, I
cope
think,
done with that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think things have changed because my youngest is now 20,
Okay.
and she's just finished her first year at university. So her coming back has been a bit of a transition.
Sure.
But actually, July's been not quiet, but it's been quieter, which has made it easier, which is nice. So it's naturally changed anyway, because we've had a more or less empty nest, not quite, but when they're, I mean, my son, who's 24 this year, still lives here but works. So during the day, there's nobody here. My husband will be in and out, sometimes working from home. My middle ones, I've got 3 kids. My middle one's just got a job in London for September. So he's back for his last summer and just recently got engaged as well. So he's off. He will be permanently off next year.
Yeah.
So things have changed anyway.
Yep.
And I think the biggest thing holding us back, which my husband will be pleased to hear on this recording, is our dog.
Yeah.
No, my mum lives around the corner as well, but obviously that's not the same as having a dog living in the house.
Sure.
So yeah, being part of the reason everything has happened how it's happened is my parents moved around the corner in 2003 up from Cambridgeshire to be kind of around me and the kids.
Yeah.
And so that's always been something where it's been lovely, but there's a bit more duty bound as you feel a bit more under pressure, because she's now 80 and still managing a home herself. So that's, and it's interesting. It's only come to me at this point in the podcast, actually. So I'm quite grateful for that. So the dog probably is a larger element, because obviously she's here and she'll be 4 this year.
Yeah.
So she's the biggest tie now. So we're enjoying a bit more freedom, a bit more having a relationship again. It's been really very difficult on and off with the kids growing up.
So
that's, in the last 6 months has been amazing. It's been brilliant, and it's been lovely to be able to grow my business at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I wanted to talk about, because we spoke about it slightly before off air, before we started the recording, was the pole fitness. So I think I can't go through this with have to know, because I think it's fantastic. And the reason I say that, it's fantastic, is because I before I came as a coach, and like I was qualified as a personal trainer myself a good few years ago, and did a bit of PT for a couple of years and fitness instruction. I do sort of myself. I'm just about back into training. I do triathlons, marathons, that sort of stuff. And so, but the whole thing of keeping fit, keeping healthy, can be sometimes quite narrow for people. They think, oh, it's got to be the gym, or I've got to go for a run. You do something that looks so out there. I love it. So tell us more.
So there's a little bit of a story behind it, and it's interesting because it's been in Woman magazine. It's about to come out in Chat as well. So it's going to be at the 30th edition of Chat, which I think comes out next week or the week after.
Brilliant.
So a little bit of my story. So it's quite funny to get out there in the press. I was like, oh,
yeah.
Okay. So the story is my daughter was a European level towards Olympic level acrobatic gymnast, and she got injured. Okay. So 2 years ago, well, there was the beginning of her gap year should have been going into a year's worth of international training.
Wow.
And instead she was at home. And she was getting quite mentally, struggling mentally. And I was like, what could we do that's a bit crazy? She's going to enjoy it. I'm going to potentially enjoy it. So we signed up for both pole fitness classes and artistic swimming. I also, with menopause, I was like, I need to do something strength training rather than running. I thought my running days were over. I have since started running again. But I'm just not quite as quick as I was. And so it was last March, I think, we started pole fitness. And then when she went to university, I continued with pole fitness and actually have gone through frozen shoulder. I think I'm about to get this one. It is freezing at the moment, but it's a motivation to keep going. The fact I'm signed up, and also the fact I'm in magazines, makes me want to get back. It's like my accountability buddy is the magazine, which is quite handy. Otherwise I would have stopped. The artistic swimming, I kind of had to, because it was too bad for my shoulders.
Sure.
Although swimming is great for you, it was the actions of tumbling and all the rest of it. Whereas pole, it's a little bit silly. It's very strength-based training. I don't do any of the sexy dancing. Although people do say you're going to try it, Jenny. I'm like, I should do, because it feels like I want to, but there's a lot of me that's very straight-laced, brought up in a Christian household.
Sure.
Like there's elements of me versus kind of my beliefs that don't quite fit there. but I love the fitness, I love the strength, and I love the community.
Yeah.
The teachers are so good, and I often go to like mixed classes now, because I've been going a while, and you can see how what you could do.
Yeah.
They're really good with the fact my shoulders aren't great, and I have a 50-year-old, flexibility of certain parts of me are so inflexible and always have been. But you can just do what you can do. So okay, there are different kind of grades, and you start off at grade 2, and I can do most of that. But the day when you get upside down holding onto this pole is like, wow, I can't do
Yeah.
a handstand, but I can go upside down on a pole,
Yeah.
and it's just incredible. And the things, and I'm still going.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
yeah,
no, I love it, but it's because it's the immediate sort of assumptions that it bring up in people's mind, as you say, when you say doing pole fitness, immediately someone
yes,
goes, "Well, you're training to be a dancer, an exotic stripper." Exactly, exactly. So, but it's the it's the whole thing again. It's like it's take that element out of it. Take sort
yeah,
of so we'll bring our heads out of the gutter here, lads, type thing, and go. It's a way you say of having the movements, the strength
yeah.
of that will definitely benefit you, but it's doing it in a way that's a bit of crack. It's a bit of fun. It's
Oh,
kind
it's
of,
so fun. Yeah,
yeah. And I'm sure there's an element of like the first time people are turning up, I'm sure there's like, it's like the giggling, like school
yeah,
children type thing.
definitely.
But, I say it's a great way of kind of removing that sort of shield and vulnerability and kind of like, you
Yeah.
kind of have to go for it, don't you?
So even my 50th birthday, so that tells a tale of people feeling uncomfortable.
Mm.
I invited probably 25 people or something. So I went through loads of people I know,
Yeah.
and I was equally happy to have any of them come. And most said no. Most were just like, why would I do that? And I don't know, again, whether it was connections with church. They were feeling a little bit like, oh,
Yeah.
one cannot do that. But
Yeah.
I think even though they'd seen videos of me doing it, so as A was that, B was I'm not strong enough.
Yeah.
And then there was an element of, oh, it's a bit sexy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And actually, the teacher we had, she did bring a bit of that in, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh, what are you doing?" I told them it wasn't going to be like that. But having said that, it was a closed room. We had a lot of fun, and actually, one of my friends was really into that bit of it, and I was kind of looking at her, going, "Wait, way to go!" Because it's female empowerment, and it's like embracing your bodies as they are, and yeah, you don't wear very much because you need this friction to hold onto the pole when you're letting go with your arms. So
Yeah.
you're often in a crop top and really short shorts because otherwise you physically can't hold on.
Yeah. No, I really do think it's a fantastic thing that
Mm,
you're doing and people doing, because again, it's the breaking down of a barrier of thinking that those things, again, I'm not strong enough. I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not
mm,
that type of person, but expressing oneself in that sort of way, but the whole thing of doing something,
yeah.
just it's there's so many other sort of activities, physical activities you can do, dance classes, what you're doing is like,
Mm,
again, it goes back to that thing we were talking about with people that you're talking as a client or a coach. Oh, all the limitations we put on ourselves, all the
mm.
things we keep us down here, but it's like, well, what else could you do? Could
Yeah,
you do it?
yeah.
It's a great real example of doing something that I think's just completely the contrast. And it's not to say the quote unquote traditional things you can do to keep fit aren't good, but
No. Mm.
something like that I think is really, as you say, powerful and empowering. And I thank you for sharing
It's okay.
your
So,
experience in it.
no, we love like as a family, we've done some crazy experiences like parasailing, paragliding, scuba
Cool.
diving, canyoning. I can keep going, jet skiing.
Love
Um,
it.
like we're willing to risk, and some of those have been really dangerous, especially
Sure.
on the continent where the health and safety is not quite what it is here.
Mm, mm,
And we have had some really hairy, scary experiences, but it's the having a go and being
yeah.
willing to. So that comes back to the kind of honesty with yourself, back to the where we started from,
Yeah.
that ability to be you, but ability to let you. So it's the kind of going back to Mel Robbins as well. The let
Yes.
Clary, let them and let you have a go.
Yes.
And I see it in my own kids not being willing to, not
Mm,
being willing to let go. So they'll do the crazy activities physically, but emotionally, oh my word, no, that is not coming out.
mm.
And that's my dream for them, is that it will. One day
Yeah.
I'll realise that nobody cares enough. I love that expression. Nobody cares about you enough to be shy. And I was
Yeah.
shy as a child. Nobody actually cares two hoots about us, any of us,
Mm.
enough for you to bother being shy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a really valid point, because there's this, I've sort of two sort of analogies or thoughts coming to my head. So one's like, whether it be you're trying to promote yourself online, a business, whatever,
Mm.
you come onto the show, and someone, there's this immediate sort of way we go, oh, well, what if everyone sees it? What if everyone
Mm.
sees it? And it's like, part of me wants to go, do you know how hard it is to get anyone to see it?
Yeah.
Like you're competing. So we hope that people will see what we do. We hope we'll find the right communities, and we hope we'll serve the people. But it's like, it's not that instant. Do you know what I mean? In some ways, it might feel like it in the moment. And the other one, I was like, with going back to the fitness thing, it's sort of that when people say, especially women doing strength training, resistance training, everyone, but especially women, used to say, oh, I don't want to get really bulky and really muscly. It's like, again, do you know the level you have to get to for anyone to get, so we can immediately think that sort of success puts us off, because we think, oh, I wouldn't want to put myself out there type thing. And the sort of the emotional putting yourself out there is like, well, if you don't do it, how much you're sort of limiting for yourself, but the other people that are around you as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's like me going to Leicester. I think I did a post about it like last week. It's not just getting outside your comfort zone, but it's getting outside of your region.
Yeah.
And I don't do it very frequently because I do have the fear. But I happen to have a coaching client who lives in Leicester. We were talking about the event in Leicester, and he goes, "Do you know where I live?" And I'm like, "No, seriously." So because, and it made sense. I was like,
Yeah.
"What's stopping me?"
Yep.
And it's that asking you that yourself that question: what is stopping me from taking that
Mm.
step? What is it about me that thinks I can't do it?
Yeah. It's a great question. It's
Mm,
a really, because then it's like the follow up is like, well, because people will come up with the time, money, resources, all these
mm,
sorts of things, and it's kind of go, okay, but are they really? Is it, it finding? There was a great one. There was I don't know if you know of George Anderson. I don't know if you've come
I'm
across
not
him
sure.
online. So
Mm,
he's a guy I've known for a good number of years, and that again in a similar field. His thing was, is it a reason or an excuse? So like the train being late is a reason, you know because you're just tired, you know what I mean? It's like, it's that thing again. So that same question of what's stopping you is like, is it a reason that's stopping you, or are you just coming up with a way to let yourself off the hook? It's a great question.
yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Jenny, few questions I always ask every guest that
Mhm.
comes on. So you mentioned Mel Robbins there a few minutes ago. We may get her into a minute, but I am one of those people that do like a quote or a phrase or something like that, or an anchor, anything like that that's important to you.
I think one I've used a few times recently is, are you working to live or living to work?
Mm,
Because I asked
great
that
one.
question around my coaching,
Yeah,
and the career coaching, and people at that point where they're often trying to make up their decision, that like they feel like they've been living to work. And
yeah.
actually, one of my clients said that is like, I only get recognition when I'm working, and I get everything I need from work. And in my head, it's going, well,
Mm,
okay, what happens if that crashes? What is going to
mm,
happen to you? And okay, I'm not communicating that, but I'm feeling it.
mm. That's a powerful statement when someone says that, isn't it?
Mm,
Their own, like, the only recognition is in the work, and it's trying to, and that's where you said about that when you were asking them earlier, and said, so the kind of almost, what else could, the other, allowing
mm,
them to accept and experience other things,
mm,
so they're not trying to get everything of their needs
mm.
in that one
Yeah,
space.
exactly.
Love it. Who do you think have been the most influential people for yourself?
So recently, Mel Robbins, because
Mm,
it was my daughter who wanted the book. Actually, she's not read a book in years, and she wanted a copy of the book. I got it. I've read it. But what I realise is it fits with everything else, I think, anyway. So
yeah.
the Sherzad Positive Intelligence fits with it. I've listened to a few of Mel's podcast recordings as well. And I think it's something that I'm still learning, is the let them theory, especially with adults. I guess as my kids are getting to that point where there's still that muddy area, and she mentions that loads of times in her book. There's like a muddy area with your kids being like 20 to 25, and I'm still in that. So trying to work out how much I let them, but letting other people takes anxiety away. So anxiety, stress, trying to control, trying to, the stuff you can't do that makes you angry. If you just take that away and stop doing it, we're so much more free as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think then it's what because I haven't read the book yet. It's on the very long list of the books that I'm working my way through. But I've kind of listened to a few of her podcasts when she's been talking about it, and then it's the let them, and then it's the let me piece as well,
Let
that I
me,
think
yeah,
is really a real powerful add-on in that as well, because immediately I just thought then the let me piece for you with this conversation again was that whole thing of we just been talking about the sort of pole fitness thing. It's kind of like, well, no, I'm going to let me. So it's that to me with the let me piece that I say I haven't read the book, is that thing of one of those aspects is enabling me to do the things where I'm kind of uncomfortable, vulnerable, whatever, but I'm going to let me try. And it's one of the things you've echoed through all this chat is the willingness to try.
Yeah. And there's
Absolutely.
it's we only live one life.
Yeah.
So, and it's a constant reminder to myself. It's not just, not to other people, but it's that way. I think it's that wake up call when you hit midlife as well. You recognize there's less probably going forwards than there was behind. And there's life is too short to continue being angry. If you were,
Yeah.
I'm not a particularly angry person, but it does build up and every so often go boom. But it's very much that, it's not really helping.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love it. It's been fabulous to chat to you, Jenny. It really has. I've really enjoyed this. I do have one more question for yourself, though, and that is, what's important for your future?
Oh, I think continuing with what I'm doing, but also I think continuing to push myself a little stretch. I've got potential things happening later on in the year that may be changing my direction. So being willing to change direction and being willing to say, when an opportunity's there, be willing to say, look, I don't have that bit. And if they say that's okay, we'll help you. If there's like the job opportunity or whatever, some employment opportunity, and I'm willing to say, look, if that person says that's okay, then it's obviously a place that's going to work potentially for me. So not restricting myself is probably me for the future, and seeing where that goes.
Love it. Absolutely love it. As I say, Jen, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. And thank you so much for joining me on the show. I want to make sure that people continue to support and follow you. We'll have all the links in the show notes of where they can do that online. But if you want to give a shout out now of where they can connect and follow.
Yeah, so I have my website, jennysharp.co.uk. I'm also on TikTok, Jenny Sharp Career Coaching. And you'll find me on Instagram. You've seen my face now. So my face is on all of the places. So if you look, as long as you've got my name, you'll find me.
Fantastic. And we'll have the links in the show notes. So everyone, please make sure you connect and follow. Jenny, thanks again so much for joining me.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to What's Important to You. If you enjoyed this episode, follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if it resonated, share it with someone who might need it too. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment or ask a question, and let's keep the conversation going. I'm James Dean, and I'll be back soon with another real conversation to help you reconnect with what truly matters. Until then, take care and stay curious.